got enough material for a Canadian accent? Have you booted enough? I don't think I have enough material for a Canadian. Because whenever I think of like the Canadian accent, if I'm gonna be honest, I just think of like, I think a lot of the Canadian accent that I've heard, it just kind of sounds like a, it sounds like a Midwestern, but with like some extra steps here and there. Because I don't think a Midwesterner would be like the oots and a boots, but I've also heard people say that the Canadians don't actually do the oots and a boots, and that's actually all fake and not real at all. So I don't really know who to completely believe. But also, like, I guess I don't know enough about the Midwestern accent either, because Canadians, I know you go like process and progress instead of process and progress. At least I'm pretty sure I know that that's what you do. But I don't know if Midwesterners do that. I don't think they do that, but they have like their own slang. But like Canada, in its own way, just kind of feels like an extra extension of like America Midwest in my mind. But also, I've never been to Canada, so that's all completely made up without any evidence or support. So you can just let me know what you think about that. What if I'm a fake Texan? I mean, like, part of me thinks that that might just be true, because I don't think I have any of the Texan, like, the things that you think about whenever you think of a Texan. I don't think I have any of those general, like, links. The linkages just aren't there. So, like, if we had like a little flowchart of like, oh, is so-and-so Texan, you would start the flowchart, and I think like the most obvious first step would be like, okay, do they have a southern accent? And then like you would say yes, no. And then if you go down, well, for me, you'd have to go down the no path, and then you'd be like, do they like football? And then it would be yes, no. And like, I'm kind of indifferent on football, but I don't really watch it, so I think you would have to lean towards the no. So then you'd go down the no path, and then like you'd keep going from there to eventually you say no to so many things, but the flowchart just links into they are a Texan anyway. So you have like 65 different steps to test the Texan process, and just because it's like my flowchart, it always leads back into the is a Texan category. So like you have just this not a Texan category that isn't used at all. You flip between pronunciations all the time, process and process. I know you're gonna read those differently. I say both. Thank you for having the faith in me, because there was a very serious chance that I said process and process, but maybe I have the brain to not do that, and you know that I have the brain to not do that. You had faith. I appreciate the faith, because I think you should take your faith back. Oh, Canadians are gonna have the British spelling, right? Do you put U's in like color and stuff? Are you a color? Color? Or do you type color like the rest of us? My favorite color? You do say color. That one doesn't click with me, because in my mind, like the no you just makes a lot of sense. It reminds me of like saying liquor versus like a liqueur, and it's like different things, but you get the idea. Gonna be honest, it never made sense to you either, but it's a part of you. That does make sense, and because it doesn't make sense to you, I feel a little guilty, because I felt like it would be something that like you'd be like defensive over, I guess. Because whenever you get into like the fake arguments online where it's like, my spelling of this is clearly superior, it represents the pronunciation of the word in the precise way that it should be represented. Usually you get a lot of angry people, and then you get like the one TikTok with the British guy, the At Least Our Schools one, but it was just a pure give up. Like, obviously it's nothing actually worth arguing over, but whenever you're getting into like silly arguments on the internet, it's kind of only natural. But then I made fun of the color pronunciation, which then basically just makes me the bad guy because you rolled over and then I kicked you in the ribs. The Canadian genes took over. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't a believer in the Canadian nice thing. I thought it was like all made up and that the Canadians played into it just so that they could get away with being secretly mean. Because everybody would always spout like, oh, Canadians, nicest people in the world, and there's just something suspicious about that. Especially whenever like you see like mean Canadians online. So then I became like untrustworthy. Which I know isn't fair, but I'm sorry. I think you're a genuine Canadian. I think that you're real. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be like the common thing or not, but you for sure were just the nice Canadian stereotype. What if you're an exception to the rule kind of thing? I got you thinking? Well, I feel like I shouldn't have you thinking. Like, you've got the thousands of hours of Canadian experience, and I've got 0 hours of Canadian experience. Whenever you look at like my Canadian statistics, I've got the maybe 0.00001 hours of Canadian experience. So I feel like I should be listening to you rather than you listening to me right now. And that's why I need you to get a little more defensive. You have to educate my ignorant Canadian opinions. Well, they're not Canadian opinions, or opinions on Canadians. Which I guess you could label as Canadian opinions, but that makes it sound like it's an opinion like from a Canadian, which just isn't true. Because I guess that's like the I'm kind of just asserting facts that I don't know are facts. And I guess that's like the American thing to do. There you are. I'm giving you a little bit of a layup. Your opinions are welcome. You have to look into this yourself. Okay. It's no use. I gave you a full-on, like, here's your shot. Here's a gun, a loaded gun. It has 1 bullet in it. Go ahead, shoot me in the head. And you said no thanks. I feel like I've gotten away with murder. And not like a good creative. Like, I said some super insightful about Canadians. I just said, what if you're stinky, actually? And he said, well, he's got a point. What if we are stinky? Well, I don't know. You might be stinky, but I wanted you to have the full-on thing ready. You're crying, laughing right now? Well, I think I'm full-on about to be crying without the laughing because of my never-ending guilt. Did I start streaming recently? Within the past month. Well, I guess with streaming, I think streaming timelines are kind of weird, right? Because most people, and like at some point I would have been one of the people, you start streaming and then you do 1 or 2 streams and then you never do it again. So in a way, I feel like 1 month is a really good stretch. Do you think I'm safe to retire now? Would it be a satisfying career? Because now I've outlasted probably legitimately like at least 70% of the people that have ever streamed. And that's not even joking. I think most people quit basically right away. And I was one of them. I was somebody that quit right away, like 2 times. It was a good run. Well, I'm glad that I could have things go the way that they have for the 1 month that I've been here. I'm basically a veteran. You won't believe the stories that I've had. I've probably got more stream stories than the Airman's got war stories, to be honest. Hit you with some of them stories. Well, sometimes whenever I stream, somebody says, hey, do a Texan accent, and I say, I don't know if I have it in me, I'm so sorry. I kind of wonder how many of the fishes are like real fish. I don't know anything about like actual fish. I don't know if I like went out into the world if I would hear of a tarpon. Tarpons are real? Do we know if the octopus with the glowing bulbs and 27 teeth is real? Do you mean probably? You weren't supposed to say probably. That's worrying, but I guess whenever you think of like deep sea stuff, it's all scary. Because they show pictures and stuff of like, oh, this is something that was found in the sea that nobody has ever seen before, and also we don't know about 78% of what is in our water, and at any point something insane could just emerge and destroy the entire planet. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll stay out of the ocean for now then. Bring it back to the deep sea horrors because you need to see the big squid. Is there actually like a crazy freakish squid? It defies thermodynamics. The source of heat should be hotter theoretically. This is like way too big of a brain of a topic for me to handle. I don't know anything about thermodynamics. You came and said, oh, there's been some crazy developments within quantum physics. Do you have an opinion on this? Well, not really. I don't know anything about quantum physics. Can you imagine if like some quantum physicist or like, what do they call? It's definitely not just a thermodynamicist or something. That would be stupid. But can you imagine if some thermodynamic scientist guy showed up in like some 2-viewer stream and was like, hey, what are your thoughts on the big new developments? The sun is starting to get a little warmer and maybe the aura is millions of times hotter. This has implications for the Earth. I'm not going to tell you whether they are positive or negative, but it is very confusing. Do you have a solution for me maybe? And the 2-viewer stream says, yeah, I think we need to take a little bit of a refrigeration beam and start shooting the sky. And they say, oh, we hadn't thought about that one. Let's bring out the big refrigerator. And they open it up and then like the Earth is saved. I'm glad we can talk about the political and economic state of the world as well as scientific studies. Yeah, we're very well-read here. There's a big fin squid in my DMs. That is one of the messages that I've ever received. I'll take a look here in a second once I sell all my stuff. This isn't real, is it? There's no way. I assume it's this. If you're scared of giant squid monsters, I think I would look away from stream until I say otherwise, because I'm about to drop the biggest squid that has ever been seen. What would it even need tentacles that long for? What does it do? How do you control things like that? I don't like that at all. And oh, the deep sea horrors, oh, you didn't need to send that. You're really killing the vibe of my Eldritch Monster game by sending Cthulhu itself. There's the boy. Everyone ever found has been a juvenile and they're 26 feet long. Does that mean adults are like 5 stories tall? It's like a literal water kaiju. I'm gonna take that off of screen for my own sake, to be honest. But that was fun. Thank you so much for that. Just a squid monster. They've never found an adult. They estimate they could get up to 40 feet. I've only got 2. They live by different rules in the water. None of it feels like the same kind of stuff that you get on land. Well, I guess it's literally different stuff because they're just kind of like floating around and stuff. And I guess I would look a little different if I was like in a giant body of water with nothing to interact with. Speaking of cowboy, the Texan arc, full commence with the boot. Found the cowboy boot. Here's my Texan accent for the day. Now that I have the cowboy boot, I can go sell it for lots of dollars and then feel more comfortable than ever. I feel like that was a better one. I think that Texan accent was less cartoon than the first attempt. I unlocked my own accent. True. Now begins the slow wanderage back to Twisted Strand, first strand type fishing spot. I think oh, you know what? I definitely did not read about the caloric intake of uranium, but I remember seeing the caloric intake about like gasoline, and you could like drink a lot of gasoline. But obviously there's drawbacks to that one too, even though it's not like radiation. Maybe de-leaded would be good for you. I'm not sure how I feel about having to make my way to the Devil's Spine, but we'll see how it goes. I feel like Devil's Spine is the most obvious, like, I think that this will be a bad area kind of name of all time. But also maybe they're trying to hit you with the big switch around the mix-up where it's like Devil's Spine and it's actually just like a beautiful field of flowers. Can you do the documentary voice? Like the David Attenborough? Let me think about that. What does he sound like? He's got the... You see the fish in its natural habitat. It is swimming away as it is being chased by a monster with 6 tentacles emerging from its mouth. The 6-tentacled monster slowly closes in on the fish with extreme precision and speed and starts yelling at it. It instantly morphs into a big fin squid, which has 26 feet worth of tentacles. Can you do it with a Texan accent? The big fin squid has 26 feet worth of tentacles. If you get too close to the tentacles, it might wrap its big, long arms around you and then throw you back into the ocean, in which case you will likely drown and die. Stop. You literally asked for it. I do a good docu voice, but shaky with the Texan. I can't help it. I feel like the Texan, it's hard to do because I feel like I'm hitting a bit of a betrayal to everybody that knows what Texan sounds like, and I feel like you get like a layer of imposter syndrome, right? Where you're like, I'm a representative of Texas and what Texas is. But then I'm so far removed from Texas, I'm like, can I really count as this? But can you do a Morgan Freeman is your question? I'm Morgan Freeman. That's what I can't do it. I'm so sorry. Take it back, take it back, take it back, take it back, take it back. We're not doing that one. Did you throw it back? Oh, I threw it back. The book? Oh, my bad. It was him and his damned wife. They dredged. Roll credits. It's not too late. It ended. Throw it back, we cried. As the fog rolled ashore, we thought surely it can still be undone. Just throw it back. Throw it back, collector. Please throw it back. Throw it back. The man closes his eyes tight as he holds back tears. His voice falls to a whisper. All this ocean around and he's still thirsty. Don't drink salt water. I'm bringing empty gallon jugs to the fishing trip on the ocean. And the only other hydration that I will bring is bottles and bottles of Coca-Cola. And then whenever they're empty, I will drink nothing but salt water. Just know that you're drinking big fin squid water. That's true, but honestly, I feel like that's maybe the least of the worries. Because you're definitely just drinking, like, people water, too. Is it me, or is salt water a tasty snack? They literally put the stuff on chocolate. Saltwater taffy is a thing. There's no way it would go wrong, right? I'm not purposefully drinking it, but the few times it accidentally slipped into the tongue, it's kind of salty good. No, she's right, though, Ghost. She's right. They literally make snacks out of the stuff. Saltwater taffy, like they put the sea salt on the chocolate, the caramel. Like, sweet stuff mixes well with just, like, sticking your hand in the ocean. I understand. You're just right this time. I'm not, like, spitting all the salt water out of my mouth whenever I eat it. The first thing I'm going to be doing is maybe I'll save the salt water in my mouth, rush all the way back to shore, and then grab a handful of chocolate and start shoveling it in there with it, and then, like, blend it up in my mouth. Going to dip a chocolate bar in the ocean and blame the consequences on us? You're gonna think it tastes good. It's just that simple. You're gonna have the chocolate bar before the seawater. You're gonna think this is okay, but maybe it's a little sweet. And then you're gonna dip that thing directly into the ocean, and it'll be the freshest seawater, sea salt chocolate bar you've ever had. And you'll be like, oh, it's salty and sweet. It's perfect. The flavors are mixing together so well. And then it'll be the happiest you've ever been. Ghost got the Canadian -3-degree icy cold water at 3 a.m. He sticks the chocolate bar in the ocean and it just becomes a solid. What's your defense? You're just thinking like, ew, yucky, salt water, yucky. I would get a little dehydrated. My throat might feel a little dry afterwards. Who cares? It'll taste good. There's already salted chocolate bars, yeah. So to think that the salt water doesn't taste good is actually insane. You have no reason to believe that other than it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. You need to reevaluate, accept the reality, where I need to at least hear a reason. In your flesh, what does it crave? I'm a big salt on my candy bar, I'm not gonna lie. Pain is a trick of the flesh, do not surrender to it, but it makes my mouth feel good. Sea salt flavored things are still processed and filtered. Straight up seawater is none of those things. That's why it would taste better, because it's fresh. What's a little sand and fish poo in your water? It's good for your immune system, so true. And to be honest, most of the people in the ocean, if you're going to like just a public beach, they're probably peeing in there too. So you're getting to know really well the elements of the world and the flavors of the universe. That does not help your case. Your argument is you get to taste pee, fish poop, and sand. Well, obviously you wouldn't like all literally just stick on there, but Bear Grylls seem to like pee fine, which is probably a valid opinion. There's probably some important nutrients in there. You don't know how many people would want to be compared to Bear Grylls. Dude got to make a living off of pretending to hike in the wilderness. Farmers use cow poop as manure for its nutrients? That's true. We're making the taffy more nutritionally valuable. That chocolate bar is finally worth something. It's probably better than having like a Snickers in the morning. I think it's like that with accidental fish poop to the mouth. But we've already established that sometimes fecal matter is a positive towards the growth of flavors. So like if you're growing some onions, somebody's pooping on those onions. That's why we wash onions and then eat it. Well, maybe you could throw a little bit of normal water in there and then wash it. But I feel like you could just take an onion out of the ground and chomp into it, to be honest, and you'd probably be fine. Onions, like, I don't think it would be that bad. I think that's what people did for a long time, and I think some people probably still do that. Like, straight out of their garden. Joe Bob wants to drink fish poop, and he's using the stream to justify his desires. That's not quite right. I want to stick my chocolate bar into ocean water, which may or may not have fish poop in it. Gotta wash fruit and vegetables? I mean, I do, but like, I feel like it's probably not like that imperative, you know? You kind of weird for that take. Are you talking about just chomping on fruit straight out of the ground? Wait, that's not a fruit. Chomping on vegetables straight out of the ground? You could rip a carrot straight out of the ground and be cool. I kind of really like the dredge minigame. A goblet. Medieval royalty drinking from their lead goblet. Why is my brain getting foggier? Thank you all for coming. Anyway, I will talk to you all another time. Goodbye.